If you're dealing with esophageal inflammation or esophagitis like all the cool kids call it, over on our video for Should I Eat Carbs When Taking Betaine HCl, it was user AXChella or something or other that said, do you have any advice for an inflamed esophagus caused by acid reflux? So I wanted to make a quick video to go over the steps that I use to improve this situation for myself and a bunch of clients. Let's jump in.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So remember, I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving medical advice here, and I don't know user AXChella or whatever that is, so I don't know their situation. I couldn't possibly know the right steps for them to take, but it was recently in a video for 4 steps to improve silent reflux, or LPR, that I was talking about how I dealt with similar situations where I lost my voice because of this type of issue for more than 8 years, where I couldn't talk for 8 years, and it was more than 23 doctors that couldn't help me figure out what was going wrong, and I had to dig in and find my own answers. So I'm going to share some of these studies in the description below this video that you can dig into further to give you an idea of what may be going on here. And when she's talking about this inflammation being caused by acid reflux, that makes sense. This stomach here is meant to hold this hydrochloric acid or stomach acid that's made to help us acidify our food so that we can break it down. The stomach is made to hold that, but the esophagus is not. That's a different type of tissue there, and when the acid hits that, it's like battery acids. So if you were dumping battery acid on your arm all day, every day, there would be inflammation there as well. So this makes sense that acid coming back up would create inflammation there for the esophagus. And they also say that there's some medications that can create inflammation, and smoking can do that. But this is the big player for most people. It's going to be an acid reflux situation, creating that situation for most people. And a lot of times when these tissues start to change, then all of a sudden the person doesn't really feel the heartburn there. Maybe they have problems up here. I was having problems up in my vocal cords, and my esophagus was inflamed as well. That was kind of seen, it was very clear. It's like, oh wow, that's a totally different color when they did the, let's shove a camera down your gullet and see how that goes for you. And you could really see all the inflammation in my esophagus. And more than one of the doctors that I saw liked the idea of anti-inflammatories in this situation, and there was talk of like eosinophilus esophagitis, and that's where there's a lot of these eosinophils, these white blood cells that are coming there, and that's part of our immune system that comes and takes care of problems that are going on. Well, that's obviously a problem that's going on there. So I personally didn't experience any improvement when they were just taking steps to turn off the body's response to the problem that was going on. But I found this study down below that I'll link, that it was on these foods that can create trouble: milk, eggs, soy, wheat, fish, and nuts. And they say if you remove those foods, a lot of people will see improvement. And for me, that's kind of how I was going about this for 8 years. It's like, oh, I eat this food and it gets much worse. And then my voice and all my throat and everything hurts even more if I eat this, so I'm just not going to eat that anymore. And I was down to like 4 foods that I felt like I could eat, and if I ate anything else, I was just wrecked and I just felt so much worse. But when you look at these foods now, and I understand this now, these are a lot of the foods that are very common to create food sensitivity issues too. When someone is not digesting their food and really breaking down their food correctly, then that food still has an identity, and then if it gets through that intestinal lining because of some other issues like leaky gut and other problems that can be going on with infections down here, when those food particles get through, now the body's viewing that as an invader, and it's going to go to war against these foods, and then just eating these foods can magnify inflammation in the body. So when you can remove these foods, all of a sudden a person can see some improvement. I saw some improvement, but I don't view that as the solution. That's just you're kind of removing some of that response a little bit, but I didn't do anything to fix the actual problem of this reflux that was coming back up and creating that inflammation. And if somebody's having acid reflux, they really elevate the ability to create these food sensitivity issues because we know they don't have enough stomach acid to break their food down correctly. Acid reflux is most commonly caused by a lack of stomach acid, not having enough to trigger this lower esophageal sphincter to close correctly, and then the small amount of acid there is coming back up and burning us. So it's usually not caused by too much stomach acid like advertisers want us to believe. It's usually a lack of stomach acid there. So these foods being problematic for someone who has inflammation from acid reflux, Makes a whole lot of sense. I also went through a whole lot of remedies, and when you research this, you're going to find a lot of these same remedies that I tried, and things like ginger, chamomile, slippery elm, aloe vera, and diglycerinated licorice. It's not fun to say. Just say DGL. It's a, I don't know. So DGL, I tried all these things. So let me circle the ones that work the best. I'm done. Yeah, none of them worked for me. And some of them can bring some immediate relief. Clients come to me all the time, say, I've been doing all of these, it's not helping. Yeah, because they don't do anything to fix the problem. And a lot of them have the ability to magnify the problem. A lot of these things can coat that esophagus, and oh, that feels nice. While it's coated, now it has a chance to try and heal a little bit. The problem is the acid's coming right back up. And a lot of these things can actually alkalize that stomach a little bit further reducing the ability for the stomach to be acidified enough to trigger that LES valve to close so the acid isn't coming back up. So I had a hard time, and it took me years to figure out that, oh, these just are not going to do it. I would go from one to the next, and oh, maybe I need to do 2 or 3. Oh, maybe I shouldn't do this one on Wednesdays. That's probably my problem. And it took me forever to figure out, oh, maybe I just fix the actual problem instead. So when we're looking at fixing inflammation, even when you look at the link like the Mayo Clinic that I put below, they say if you can just stop the problem, the body has the ability to heal those tissues. Those tissues can heal and that inflammation will go down if a person can just stop whatever's creating that inflammation. Well, for most people, it's going to be this reflux coming back up. And for a lot of people, if they just acidify the stomach more, then it triggers this valve to close and then everything works great. Now for me, when I looked at the steps that I had to take more steps than that. I had not enough stomach acid. I also had a bacterial overgrowth in my stomach that was reducing the acidity of the stomach even further. I had a hiatal hernia here where part of my stomach was pulled up through the diaphragm, kind of restricting that LES valve to close. I had to fix that issue. And then as I wiped out all the bacteria that were causing all this trouble, I had another sinus infection up here that was feeding down into my stomach, so I would fix it and then like a few months later it would all be back because it was feeding down from my sinuses. So for some people, there are layers of trouble that have to be corrected. So you might have to do some work to figure out really what's going to correct the issue for you, but the good news is that if you're willing to do the work, you can really see improvement. So when we're looking at improving this inflammation, it's really about stopping the problem. It's not about all these other things that I made myself so miserable trying over and over again. It's about stopping the reflux. And for most people, it's about acidifying the stomach more with like supplements like betaine, HCl. Some people will use apple cider vinegar and that can help acidify. But if somebody's esophagus is really inflamed, drinking apple cider vinegar is going to feel like fire going down there. It's not going to be a good time. So if somebody has inflammation, that's not going to be the right step for them. But if you use HCl the wrong way, you can really magnify those symptoms and make the inflammation worse. So you really want to know the steps that are going to be right for you. But to understand how to figure out which steps are going to be right for you, because it's really going to vary from person to person, we'll put a link in the description below for our totally free digestion course. And that free course will walk you through figuring out which aspects of digestion need help and what steps are going to help you acidify this stomach and trigger this LES valve to close the fastest. So for most people, that free course is going to have enough information to help you figure out what you need to do to trigger that LES valve to close. And for those who end up needing more help like I did, our private membership has a whole section on troubleshooting acid reflux that goes over some more advanced steps. So if you're willing to do some work, it's likely that you can see results. Or you can be miserable for 8 years like I was and I couldn't even talk, so I don't really recommend that route. And right now, if you want to understand this acid reflux thing a little bit better, you can jump over and check out our video on why do I have acid reflux. I can't wait to hear about your results.